Healing crystals, skincare routines, knitting a sweater, fitting in jeans. With Katie and Sarah, no need to worry, you're on a lady journey.
I'm recording.
And we started. Well, we had a little bit of a chat off camera about we apparently share a love for vending machines.
Right.
Who doesn't love a good vending machine? I mean, like, a vending machine is like you're in a desert. There's an oasis, a beacon of light.
Right.
And when I'm in a hotel, a bad hotel, I hate a hotel where they have like the little store.
Me
where
too.
You're like, oh, okay, I have to embarrass myself and wait for the clerk to come so I can be like, I'll have one Kit Kat.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're just stealing
room?
it. Yeah. And with the vending machine, it's like, what's your main vending machine go to? Say you're at a hotel, middle of the night, suddenly you're starving. You need something to accompany your Gilmore Girls binge.
Well, I'm going to go for, of course, the soda, the Diet Coke in a can. I do not like plastic bottle Diet Coke. It's never cold.
I feel the same, yeah.
I think the can keeps it cold or it gives it a taste. But I'm just like a regular, maybe like a Lay's potato chips.
Yes.
Or maybe a peanut butter crackers.
Oh,
do you know the
yeah.
saltines with peanut butter in them?
Love those.
And then like my sweet is probably, I always think in my mind a Snickers is healthy because it's got nuts.
It's got nuts.
It's got
4 nuts on it. Yeah. I would go for Lay's is a huge one for me, although I will get thrown by a Sun Chip. If I see a Sun Chip in there, which again, that's why I'm like Harvest Cheddar.
Right.
That's diet food.
It's only Harvest Cheddar or original, but I don't know. I guess there's sour cream.
They're multigrain. I don't know. It says sun in it, so that's good.
Yeah.
And then I'll go for a classic Hershey. I actually love a classic Hershey, and I love a peanut butter cup though. Nothing satiates me like a peanut butter cup.
Right. Well, protein.
Ugh. Yeah. And if I'm really off my dang rocker, I'll get a Pop-Tart. You see a Pop-Tart in there every now and then.
Can I just say, I think Pop-Tarts are exquisite.
Oh my gosh, the brown
pastry.
sugar. Yeah, the brown sugar, cinnamon. And then when it goes in the Pop-Tart and it comes out, it's the most...
Oh, I eat them cold. And I still think they're amazing.
So good.
I don't need the frosting on. I just like the pastry with the jam in the inside. But apparently... I think they're like illegal in Europe.
Oh yeah. They're definitely one of those foods that have been outlawed for like.
But that's like
additives.
Insane for Europe to be. Do you know what I mean?
So
like with
snobby.
The regulation
of
that, like
so thin.
Yeah.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But also, I always when you go to the airport. Sometimes there's like fancy. Vending machines like the sprinkles cupcakes or something. I'm like, those cupcakes are old.
Those are not even cake. I saw something.
It's not cake?
Saw an expose about it. It's some kind of like, you know how they have like cheese product and it's not cheese. They can't legally call it cheese.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's like Kraft singles.
A
it's
cake
like
product.
Yeah. It's like that where it's they claim, and I think maybe it wasn't necessarily the sprinkles ones, but it's like the Cake Boss's cake. It claims that it's like made fresh daily or whatever, but
There's
it's like
no
it's just
way.
cake product.
Who's going to the airport daily?
I know, right?
I mean, I think Rob Hayes has a really amazing joke. When you're like, it's more of a rant. So I'm not going to do it justice, but he did it on the Tonight Show. And it is really like when you go to the airport, you're like, my heart goes out to people that have to go to the airport every day for their job.
The airport workers. When an airport worker is rude to me, I'm like, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Like, people are stupid in the TSA.
They're stupid.
Like, take your laptop out. How hard is it to know that? We've been doing it for 20 years.
But here's my gripe with the TSA. Can every city get on the same page?
That's the thing that does crack me up, because they act like it's like, yes, it's the same for you, but it's different. But then you realize, they've never gone anywhere else than Toledo.
Right. Well, because I'm like, why? New York has the most terrorist attacks than any other. Like Houston, you still have to like take your laptop out and have everything in separate canisters or whatever. And I'm like, nobody's attacking Houston
Come on. Houston's attacking itself.
with hurricanes. Yeah.
Now, I know this is kind of hacky and it's been done, but I don't mind a pat down. I feel it's like a little massage at the nail salon.
Sometimes you just want attention.
Just like just a light back rub. Like, yeah, I
never get that
right
offended.
At the nail salon when they go like right up behind you, they like 10 more minutes. I'm always like, yes, please.
Yes.
Sold me on it.
Oh, that's my favorite kind of massage. I like that kind of massage more than I've gone to Spa Castle and I did the Swedish massage and that was an hour and I didn't care for it.
Yeah.
But the Asian guy that I don't even think is certified to give
No, he's
massages,
just there massaging your back.
getting that extra $30 for a 15 minutes massage. I'm like, he's amazing.
I love a chair massage because I have these. When you're laying down and you do like a table massage, you don't get these parts.
No, whatever.
know
what are they called? Delts? Trods?
Traps? No, I have no idea. Trap houses?
But you know what I also like? I've indulged and some people think they're gross. And I've done this at the airport. And I remember my old gym, which was so trashy, just in general. They had massage chairs, the ones that you put $5 in and it just kind of like...
Those will do the trick.
I love it. It does a calf massage and for some reason it's better than... And also it makes me feel weird to have a human sometimes...
Yes.
That's their job. I had a friend that I knew was a massage therapist. She was crazy. And I would say friend loosely, more like a colleague. She had to quit because she said you just take on everyone's tension.
I do. When I get massages pretty frequently and I'm always so grateful for like when you get a really good massage and you know that person is like pouring their energy into you. And I always am like, oh my God, thank you so much.
Right. Because I don't like giving loved ones massages. Do you know what I mean? Like Joe gives them every now and then. And when you have to reciprocate because it's fair.
Right.
I fucking hate it.
See, I'm the reverse. Mike will never let me touch his body, but I'm always begging him to.
Well, he's got good shoulders to give you massages.
He has very strong hands and he'll just squeeze as hard as he can.
Sometimes are we fighting?
Yeah, I know. I'm like, come on. I'll be like, oh, it's right there. And then he just starts squeezing it harder and harder.
Yeah. But then some people are like, oh, you have knots. And you're like, I think that's just my back muscle.
Oh, I got knots all over the dang
Can't
place.
tell what a knot is.
Oh, I actually think it's when the muscle gets like.
I think I'm veal.
You're a soft baby cow. It's when the muscle, I get them a lot in my shoulders. I'll get knots a lot if I carry a backpack that's too heavy.
Right.
Then I notice I get a lump on it, or I get them on my shoulder blades.
I just feel like for me, it'd be like a crick in the neck.
I get that too. I get it right here.
Yeah.
I actually do self massage with my gua sha. The one that's looks like a little paint easel and has got a little point on it. This is what I do. I read this online and it helps me so much because I get back pain if I do yoga or something. My muscles get sore and they get I'll get a pressure point. So I'll find the pressure point and I just hold the point on it.
Oh, that's smart.
For 30 seconds and it actually releases it. It helps so much.
Well, yeah. Isn't it weird that there's good pain where you're like a stretching?
My God.
That's my phone. iPhone down. Like a stretching. Just a pinpoint where it does release.
The pressure points are wild.
Well, I do that. This is a weird thing. With mosquito bites, I like to dig my fingernail into it. And for some reason, the pain of that relieves the itchiness for a while.
Yes,
it's a different kind of pain that I find more bearable.
Burn my skin than have an itching. Yeah. Well, that's why I like the traditional Chinese body work where they kind of really only do the same massage where they work along your meridian lines.
Okay.
And so it's a little bit different
everything.
than I know. It's traditional Chinese medicine is so fascinating and wild.
This sounds like good racism.
Good racism.
I
White
think they're
ladies helping. That's the name of our. That's the name of our show now.
On a higher level in Asian culture of serving. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
when you go to a restaurant, retail, you go over there and you're like, what? America's just been they just throw shit on the table and here you figure it out. Here's a square code or whatever. But I just feel like there's the love is in the details over in Asia.
Love is in the details, and the traditional Chinese massage, when they work on the meridian lines, I always go and I feel like, I could feel like sick, not well, like low energy, but then I'll leave feeling like, oh my gosh, it feels like my energy is flowing more clearly through my body, which it's like, I guess, how can you even tell if am I just feeling that way because I feel good? I feel like euphoric,
or just like a dopamine to be with another person.
Yeah, being touched. What were you saying about doing your rucking now? This is your new pursuit?
Well, this just happened like 10 minutes ago. So I'm trying to figure out ways to work out that I can incorporate the baby.
Oh, yes. Oh, Mike was telling me, I was telling him about our pseudonym. He was like, you should just call him that guy. I'm trying to keep an eye on that guy.
You know that guy I just had?
Yeah. He is a lot.
He's a lot.
He's really, that guy is crying.
That guy takes up a lot of my time. And so I saw this on TikTok, of course, and I was like, why didn't this dawn on me? And I did think of this because you can get these these bracelet weights, but I don't want to wear those in public. Yeah. I'd rather wear like maybe a harness.
Yeah.
And it's called Rucking. And so it's like if you want to turn up your walking, it's like a backpack with weights.
Oh, but not for that guy that you put him in it?
No, I wouldn't put
just
Marty.
Like a weight. I put that guy in my backpack.
While I'm strolling.
Oh, you're strolling and then you've got the backpack on top.
Right.
Okay, gotcha.
I would baby wear, but right now I think it's too hot to baby wear.
Yeah.
So I haven't. So I'm looking into rucksacks.
I love this. Yeah, the ankle weights, to me, I see people wearing them out and I'm always...
It feels eating disorder, but I don't know if rucksack... Is that misogyny?
Ankle weights for your back.
Because ankle weights are feminine, but it feels like if I have like a harness backpack, people are like, she's getting fit. But like ankle weights and wrist weights makes me feel like everyone's watching me with anorexia.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, I've taken a few workout classes where you just do, like my Pilates class, we do 2-pound weights, and it's like...
It makes a difference.
When you work like the small inner muscles of your joints, the 2-pound weights are everything.
Yeah.
It's not going to sculpt your body, but it's like, I mean, I don't want to be like, what was that Netflix documentary about like Killer Annie, where the woman was like bodybuilding?
Oh, yeah. It was murder, right?
She murdered.
I think I stopped that. There's a lot of docs I just watch and then I stop.
You can't watch them all.
I haven't really been into a lot of docs lately because they feel very formulaic and very surface level, where I'm like, I don't really feel like we touched on this on the subject matter that much. And also this event happened 6 months ago, like the TikTok dance thing. I thought it was interesting, but I didn't really feel like it delved deep.
I 100% agree. It's like we're running out of topics. We're running out, like, I listen
Let's
to
wait a little bit.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of the true crime podcasts, and now it's like I've heard all of them, and every new one is like one person was killed 80 years ago. They don't know.
Yeah.
They never figure it out. It's like, yeah, then don't do a podcast on it. I hate to tell you this. Like, whoever that was, they deserve respect.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. It's not that interesting of a murder.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry, but your murder was boring. What can I say? I love in murder podcasts too. It's like every murder, it's like there is some kind of open secret that we're not all listening to this for our own salacious entertainment.
Right.
You have to pretend like, oh, no, I'm into the crime. I'm into the victim. They're like, the next details are hard to hear, but they're important for understanding the killer's motivation and why he would have to disembowel. Like, just
stay tuned.
Just show me the body.
Yeah. Or sometimes I just go to the Wikipedia page for the murder.
Oh my God. I know. I like it when they do the TikTok murder stuff, even though that did ruin.
But they do like 16 parts, and a lot of it's like the first minute is backtracking what they've already discussed in the previous part.
Yeah.
That I'm just like, fuck it. I'm going to the Wikipedia page, and that's all I need.
I'm just going to take a quick browse around. Take
a
quick browse. Yes. Okay. Norwegian guy. He kept his daughter in the basement. They had 18
thank you.
kids.
Got it.
Thank you. Yeah, now I can sleep.
We're instead of like having to go through this account and being like, when did this start?
Oh,
the
I
watch. But now I'm into shark attack stories.
Really?
Yeah, I guess there's been a lot of. First of all, like Cape Cod has got a huge great white population right now because of the seal population.
Jaws.
Also, great white.
Was Jaws in Cape Cod? That was in Long Island, wasn't it?
I think in the Massachusetts.
Okay. So
area.
Cape Cod is.
Do you know, Lex?
We're checking with our producer.
But I think it was kind of stationed based off at like a Cape Cod area. Just like because I also South Padre Island in Texas has had quite a few where I just watched this girl's full calf muscle just get eaten. I don't know. I'm just like in phases of death journey right now as well.
That's okay. You have to have balance. You need to have balance.
A lot of them are still alive. They still live.
I mean, imagine living after a shark. Hey, I could lose a calf. Okay, fine. I hope it's my right one because that's my bigger one. I have asymmetry in my body. And I am going to go to a chiropractor for it someday.
Right.
That's on my list. First is dentist.
Never noticed.
Thank you. Oh, by the way, can I tell you about my dress that I'm wearing?
I thought it was great. And I came very close to wearing a black dress, the same kind of.
Oh my gosh.
But no.
That's always us.
I know.
So I got this dress. Well, when I go to Seattle, I always go thrifting because I think they have the best thrifting there.
Because all the seasons, or it's not like seasons, but it's hot, it's cold, it's wet. You had a lot of options.
Yeah, there's a lot of options. And also I always stay in U District, which is where the school is. And that school has like 30,000 kids there. So they have a great Goodwill. They have great Crossroads. So I got this. I was like, oh my God, linen. And then the label is in Korean. So I was like, clearly this is an item.
Yeah.
Like this is some kind of designer label, like foreign linen. And then this was when I was going to Hawaii with Mike, and Mike forgot his swim trunks. So we ran into H&M. And I was like, well, let's just grab you something in here. And that's when I saw the dress.
Yeah.
And my brother speaks Korean, and he said the label says H&M.
Oh, it's almost like what Claire talked about yesterday.
Yeah.
I've seen a few H&M pieces in thrift stores, as Clara said, for I think almost more than what.
I thought I was getting a vintage,
like a
is this Chanel?
An Issey Miyake.
Yeah. So anyway, I was spending all day earlier. So I'm in like a finance kick, as you know.
You're about to spend a shit ton of money.
Yes. So I'm thinking about finances a
Wedding.
lot. And also, I am also in a finance kick because, you know, there's so many weird emotional things that come with finances. Like there's taboos about talking about it, or, you know, we've all been around that person. And I have been that person where they're like, ugh, rich people suck, you know, rolling your eyes at like someone because maybe they are, you know, wealthy for whatever reason.
Yes.
And I am just more in a mode of like talking to people about finances because I'm reading the, best friend Rich BFF book, Vivian, too, and she's talking about like, you know, there's a taboo around money amongst like women and like poor people and like maybe BIPOC because it's just socially easier for the rich people to stay rich. Meanwhile, they're all trading financial secrets.
Yes.
And then here we are like, oh God, I don't want to be gauche. Like I'll never tell my wage, or, you know, I'll never bring up money. But it's like we should be talking about finances because it's one of my favorite topics to talk about now that I'm like kind of financially literate, to be like, oh, like what savings account do you have? Like, oh, is this a good investment opportunity? Because it's like that. First of all, it's fun to chat about.
Right. And I don't understand the gatekeeping.
Yeah. Like,
in that
what's
world.
the gatekeeping?
Like, does that mean it takes away from your money? There's no reason to gatekeep in that situation.
I feel like the taboo also is in place because, you know, there's judgment.
Well, there's always like, I remember watching, I guess one of the Johnson & Johnson's heirs, it was young kid, did a documentary.
I saw that.
And he was just talking about like how rich people do not like talking about money. And there's from the Martin Scorsese movie about Howard Hughes, right? Aviator. There was a line that always stuck with me where he's dating Katharine Hepburn, and she's like, he's talking about money or doing business, and she's like, oh, we don't talk about money here, and he's like, that's because you have it. Right. And it always stuck with me where I'm like, That's true. I feel like when you're poor, you talk about money more.
Yeah,
because it's on your mind more.
It's on your mind. And I think also when you do have money, there's such a judgment of like, if I were to say like, oh, well, this is not the case. But, you know, if I was like, well, my parents are millionaires, you know, then like people will judge you and be like, oh, you don't have whatever you worked for, that you only got that because of X, Y, and Z, because of money, or like.
But I still kind of think that. I'm like, I don't think people that are rich are lazy. Meaning like if they come from money, I'm not saying that they're not working hard.
Yeah.
I actually believe that, but they definitely have a huge leg up.
No, I agree. But I think that's
and they
why
also
they
know
don't
how to
bring it up.
In the family, in the culture dynamic, they are taught innately.
You're taught money skills. Yeah.
Money skills, or how to ask for more for your value. And then I feel like when you're kind of, you feel self-conscious operating in a wealthy environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no, I totally agree with that. But also, like, I mean, I've totally been this person, like I was saying, to be like, God, like rich people are so annoying.
Right.
But that's a thing. And I know this is woo-woo, but like energetically, you will kind of like scare yourself away from making money if you think that rich people are shitty.
Right.
You'll always sabotage yourself when you're like about to save money, because you will be like, oh, well, I don't want to be like a shitty rich person.
Right. Well, like what was I talking about with, I think my friend Adrian, we were talking about like a lot of rich people are cheap.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's because
that's why they're rich. Yeah.
Because I've noticed any one of my friends that have grown up and because I was probably middle class, what I thought was middle class, but then when I found out we were just in debt, we're just my dad.
That's so funny.
And you can go into debt for about 20 years before the card
all you
house
need to do is
crumbles
die.
or whatever.
Yeah. All you need to do is die.
What was I saying?
Rich people are cheap. Yes.
Yes. Well, my observation is like anytime I've hung out with people that I know that have come from like really hard upbringing with their parents are probably poor, I've noticed their spending habits are atrocious.
Yes, because you don't grow up with like money management.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it seems like they fulfill with buying stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
I totally agree with that. And I also think, it's like quiet luxury. Like that's a thing for a reason.
Well, it's also weird. This is also another observation, and it's probably not true, but what I've just gathered is some of my more high maintenance friends are like the ones that want to stay in nicer stuff, or like want to do like first class and stuff like that, or want the high end drink. They're always also from a lower income family. Yeah. Where I've met, or you hang out with rich people, they're not as, in my mind, as high maintenance. I'm sure there are, but that is my observation. Yeah.
When I was reading The Psychology of Money, which I loved, it was such a good book and it was an easy read too, but he was talking about the difference between like rich and wealthy. Right. And it's like rich is like external, so you're like spending your money, and then wealthy is just like no one could even know that, you have a ton of money, but you don't act like it. So but you have that security.
Well, apparently like there's a guy I followed on TikTok and he does like mortgage lending in banks. And he said the people that had a lot of wealth in their bank accounts, their car was always like a Nissan Sentra, Honda Civic, something really cheap. And the people that had hardly any money in their account had like a lavish car.
Yes, that's what they were saying. The guy was saying on The Psychology of Money, it was like these guys that drive this like Corvette like race car. It's like these guys are like broke and leasing it. Yes. And meanwhile, like women are like, oh, like hello.
Well, did you know, like I found this out about MTV Cribs. A lot of the artists back then, they didn't own those houses.
Oh my God, of course.
They were renting them or borrowing them, and they were presenting it as if it was their own. And I was like, that is so crazy to me.
Yes. It's like,
and it makes sense.
In Real Housewives, when they used to do Real Housewives, and probably still to this day, like I remember there was a big article that came out. There was a famous woman that killed herself a few years ago. She was like a famous New York socialite. Yeah. And she was like in and around all of these wealthy people. And it turned out she actually had no money. She was like $5 million in debt, and she committed suicide because she just, I don't know, whatever the extenuating circumstances were. But it was all about how there's this pressure to appear wealthy. And in this article, it talked about like the Real Housewives. It was like they go out to dinner and then they'd be like dashing out so no one would get stuck with this gigantic check.
Right. And like, I remember the first season of New York, they shat on Alex for going to the Bahamas in off season.
Oh, I know. She was the Brooklyn wife. Yeah, she was the Brooklyn wife.
And that's the kind of show where you're like, because off season and season or whatever you call it,
right?
There's quite a huge difference,
Bart's or something, right? No,
there's a huge price difference.
Yes, God, that's flashing me back.
From what I gather, also in articles of a lot of the housewives, that's why they're doing fraudulent shit, because they are trying to keep up. Well, that's why Dorit is in bankruptcy,
right?
Because of her 40. Like these people have $100,000 a year on glam.
Yeah.
That's stupid.
Yeah, they have like
Learn
a
to do your
private makeup person. Yeah, just do your own makeup. Like celebrities do that. They don't care. And that's why, I guess talking about money, I think is like good to do with your friends, even though it's taboo and it feels uncomfortable. But I think we should do it more because, especially like ladies, people on lady journeys, they can learn a lot from, like we were just talking about savings accounts. And I was like, I have a high yield savings account through Vanguard. It's a great place to keep money. You can't keep money in a bank because then it's like depreciating.
Right. You're not making, technically, with inflation and then the interest rate, you're losing money actually. Or like, from what I gather. But I started doing all these things where I signed up and I don't know what. It's just taking $5 out of my account and I have no idea where it's at.
Yeah.
Acorns,
like money. Like,
I think if I went in there, I might have a few $1,000s without knowing about it.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, what if Acorns goes down?
It's easy to lose track of stuff. It really is.
Think about how many subscription services that you have and you're like, wait. Well, I just realized I think Joe and I are paying for Paramount Plus. Both of us have an account.
Oh my God.
Or that because they've all these companies merge at the same, like that you're like, well, if you didn't know if you had Disney that you didn't need a Paramount Plus, but they don't tell you that in a newsletter or whatever.
Yeah.
So then you have Disney Plus and Paramount Plus and you didn't realize it's the same thing.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, well, it's like $10 a month, but then it ends up
they're not going to tell you.
It ends up adding up.
I actually think that should be a class action lawsuit.
Yeah, it should.
Yeah. Well, I know like Spectrum and all these like phone or whatever phone companies or cable companies, they have had class action suits because they haven't been telling their customers. Well, have you ever called up Spectrum and being like, yeah, my Wi-Fi is not down. Or it's like, I feel like it's not running that much. And then they're like, oh, well, did you know that you could upgrade and it's less than what you're paying now? And you're like, well, why don't you just do that naturally?
Right.
Why is it that I'm just finding this out because I have to call? Like, who has the fucking time to do that?
I have Spectrum. I need to call them. Everyone call Spectrum now.
There's always a deal that's happening, or you can get a better deal if you ask for it. I've done that with my phone bill where I was like, hey, I was AT&T. I was like, I'm paying like $110 and I'm finding out everybody else has the same amount of like data or whatever bandwidth that they have and they're paying like at least $80 or $70. Like, why is this the case? And then they're like, oh, you didn't know about our new plan?
Yeah, I know. Everything is a shakedown. Everything is totally a shakedown.
But that's why I'm like, these things should be like class action lawsuits.
Yeah, it should be illegal to do that.
Right. But then when you get those, like, you just won $5 in your class action lawsuit.
I know. I was looking at financial stuff today to get ready for this, and I was like, I always get sucked into the like it's such a waste of time rabbit hole, and I have somehow I'm in like 50 of these where it's like you could just fill out 3 surveys a day and you can make and you end up it's all on its own like weird system where it's like, great, you just spent 20 minutes doing a survey and you've got 4 bits now, and you're like, wait, what? And it's like, take the bits to the store, feed it to the horse. I'm like, I just signed up for another one today. I was like, no, they got me. Now, what credit card do you have?
Okay, so I have 2, and I get, I have Discover, and I don't know why. I think they were the first card that gave me a high limit.
Yes.
And The reason also I went to Discover is I had other debt from another credit card, and Discover was like for the first year 0% interest. So I moved my debt from one credit card and I moved it over to Discover, and I managed to pay off because it's crazy how much you're paying in interest rate.
Freaking brilliant. That's
so
awesome.
You can do that a lot.
Yeah.
That happens a lot, and you'll just notice it in your mail. So I moved it over to Discover, and then I just kept it there, and they give me enough perks with miles that I've stayed there. So I put medical expenses on my Discover.
Okay.
Yes. Then I have an Amex because it's they do reward programs with Delta, and I have to tell you I'm brand loyal because brands, like especially airlines, will treat you right. Even if you're paying a little extra,
it evens out.
And you get so many great perks. Like you get bumped up to first class, especially for like, B markets like Houston or something like that.
Oh, you get that bump up. You get those pistachios. I
know.
You're
it's
like,
great.
Excuse me, am I a queen?
I mean,
I'm getting 100 extra calories right now.
Right. And then I want to get to the level of like where Joe's at, where I can get where it's feasible to do the lounge, but he has me as his +1.
Oh, so you can get the lounge through him?
Yeah, so I get the lounge through him. So and I go up with him.
That guy.
Yeah, that guy.
I take that guy up.
The guy that's just hanging out with us.
Sounds like you're in a poly relationship.
Right.
Yeah. I take that guy up there.
So I do those. And the reason why I like American Express is they can cancel payments. Sometimes also if you feel like you're
detectives that will like go to town for you.
There was an SNL sketch years ago in like the 80s or 90s how they will just hunt down a family and like kill all their family members and their children if they did you wrong.
That's hilarious. It's Lethal Weapon.
Right. Sometimes every now and then when I first got the Amex that was annoying is like every time you made a transaction, they would be like, "Is this you?"
Oh yeah.
You're like, "Yes." Yes, like
I needed tampons.
I would let you know.
Yeah.
So in the first year or so, I always had to call being like, I'm going to Europe and I'll be spending money. Because that way you don't have to do exchange rates.
Yeah.
Or deal with like, and usually most places accept Amex.
I was reading a travel.
I like Amex.
I have an Amex too. I have the Platinum, which is not the lounge one, but it's the step below it.
Yes.
But I'm thinking about upgrading. Because I don't know, I feel like if you upgrade, I think it's $350 for the credit card fee for the Platinum, and it's only $550. It's $200 more, but you get to go in the lounge like 10 or 15 times, and it's like that's worth.
Right, because the amount of food, or like when you're hungry in an airport, also it's just like nice in the lounge.
When I go in that lounge, I'm at the grocery store.
Talk about it.
Yeah.
When I'm allowed in there,
I've got a baggie. Okay, I got a doggy bag.
I want to live in the Delta Lounge. I want them to have a Delta Lounge in the city that should have shuttles to the airports.
Pardon me. Oh, that's great.
So you can just like hang out in the lounge, and then you're like, oh, I'm catching a flight
boarding.
too.
Yeah, you get in the helicopter.
Yeah. I
wouldn't
be surprised they offer that too.
I like the Delta Lounge so much. I'm going there on my birthday.
I would.
I'm going there.
I would join you in the Delta Lounge for your birthday.
Mimosa. Yeah, come on in. Oh, birthday party in the Delta Lounge. Everybody, I have an announcement. Excuse me, we have a party over here.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is if you do Lyft and you connect your Amex or your Delta, they have a program and you get miles through doing Lyft. They have
great perks.
Yes.
Yeah, and I get a lot of the Delta rewards too. Like I had one for restaurants where it was like every time you spend like $10, it was like $50 on restaurants, you get $10 back, and they have like different little ones that you can get.
Yeah.
But that's my only credit card. And
which one is it?
The Delta Amex Platinum.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I have that, but then I've been like all day looking into getting a new credit card specifically for my wedding. And I've been all over the Reddit boards.
You should probably. I just find it easier to keep track of,
right?
Like this is
the wedding stuff.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a business card. I just put everything on the Amex and then I divide it up when I do my taxes.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I need a personal card anyway. But I'm looking for something big signing bonus. You know, they all have the ones with the biggest bonuses have the APR is crazy on these cards. You're like 29%. My goodness. Oh my gosh. I feel like, is this a loan shark?
Yes.
Am I in freaking Atlantic City right now? Like, oh my goodness.
It's so fun. I don't really pay attention to that, but I really I don't even do the minimum payment. I just pay the credit card.
I pay it every week on Friday because
Right.
it just spins out of control. And that's one thing I was going to say too, why I feel like, talking about money can be so hard for people, because there is a lot of judgment in terms of like debt. Like credit card debt, it can really affect you emotionally. Like you can feel bad about yourself.
It's a huge burden, but there was a thing. I did have a bit about it where I had quite a bit of debt, like a few thousand. It wasn't anything like student loan debt, but it was enough to just like always weigh on my mind of like, I can't do things because I have this.
Yeah.
But then when I paid it off, I just was it felt like I had no goals. Like there was a level of depression that hit where I was like, now what? Like nobody was like, that's amazing what you just did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like nobody gave a shit.
Did you feel judgment from other people when you were in credit card debt?
It was so low that it wasn't enough. I think it was $8,000, but $8,000, if you're not on top of it, will spin out of control really, really fast. Yeah. So I was doing minimum payment plus and then some.
Yeah.
But then, it was just really hard to keep that knocking down. And then when I married Joe, he paid quite a bit of it off. So that helped.
Well, that was your dowry.
That he was. It was. And I'm forever indebted. But since then, every time I make a credit card, I make sure I have money to pay it off.
Yeah.
But I do purposely put stuff on my credit card because I think it's really important to build a good credit score. Yeah. Because Joe didn't have a credit score. I had to put him on my credit card.
Oh, wow.
Because every man that I've ever dated, a lot of them never had bank accounts.
Wow. What a funny thing. Yeah.
I had the type. I had a type.
I know. Yeah. Red flag.
No, well, Joe had a bank account, but he was doing like a bank account. This is also, have you ever hung out with somebody where their bank account is just like from the town that they're at a bank that's like
a credit union? Yeah, that's what I had when I moved here, and I was like, I don't think I can use this.
No, and then you're on like trips with them, and they're like, I can't pulse out money, and you're like, can you just go to Chase?
You gotta go to Chase. That's my bank. That's the bank
everywhere.
I have.
Yeah, or like any of the bigger ones where I'm like, they're not screwing you over.
Yeah.
I don't really feel like Chase is screwing me over, actually.
They will kind of fuck you. I remember when I first went from my day job to freelancing, I had some issues with them because if you don't have direct deposit in your account, or if you're not putting money in consistently, they will like charge you a $15 fee a month, I think. If it's under $2,000. Yeah. So it's like, that's kind of a lot.
Yeah.
And if you're broke and you're like trying to scrimp, like that's not going to fly. But there's so many other, I think that one, Chime, I think that one went out of business.
That's
that went
the
out of
online
business.
one, right? I looked into that for us.
I think they went down.
Okay. So,
if you don't have if you're like looking for a cheap bank, like just go with one that's online and doesn't have a brick and mortar. Yes, maybe it sucks because you can't go in and you're not going to get like a house loan from them or whatever, but it is cheaper and they will have less fees.
Yeah.
Like when you're broke, you have to watch out for fees, like all over the place.
ATM, like that was, my dad instilled that in me. He's like, do not use another ATM.
Never.
Because he was like, you're getting charged from them and then you're getting charged from your bank.
Yeah.
And then it's so rare now because of Venmo. Those banks must be losing money on.
I know. I can't think of the last time I used the ATM. It feels so archaic.
It does. It feels alcoholic.
Yeah. I got to get that Coke.
The only time I was pulsing money was like from a bar.
Right.
Like, remember, that was like in 2008, what I remembered about moving here was this was pre-Venmo. That was the most I ATM'd was in New York City because all these businesses were only accepting cash because they're just trying to avoid paying taxes because it's so crazy to run a business here.
Yeah.
So I was forever just pulsing out money out of the shadiest ATM you've ever seen.
Yes, I remember those. You're like, why is it gum on it?
Yeah, you can't even make out what's on because there's spray paint on it.
Yeah.
You're like,
there's like a man behind you leering. You're like, sir.
Or like anytime you went to go deposit your money when it was cold outside, you would have to like step over like 3 homeless people that
Yeah, it
were
was
sleeping,
terrible.
and then you felt bad if they were panhandling after you made a deposit.
I know. You're like, sorry, sir, I don't have change.
Yeah,
Like,
and unfair. There should be rules in panhandling.
There should
Not
be a
within
panhandler's
like
code.
an 800 feet
Yeah.
radius of an ATM.
Yeah, a hobo's creed. Well, I had really bad student loan debt, which I paid off. Thanks
Are you bummed that people are getting it dismissed?
I would have never got it dismissed because I never.
How do you get it dismissed? Are people
have
actually
to-
getting it dismissed?
You have to.
Not only did my wife, they sent back every dollar she paid in.
Oh my God.
Our producer, this just in from our producer, his wife's student loan was forgiven, but mine.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing.
Go Biden.
Yeah, and shout out.
It was a court case. Predatory, they were promising things, and then after people got the student loans, they didn't fulfill their promises.
Meaning
Did predatory loans,
they are.
and not only they wiped off the loan, and then went through the records and gave her back every dollar, which was like 16 grand. They just sent it back. It was last year.
Oh my God, get that predatory loan.
It was a predatory loan. It was a predatory loan, and they got taken to court. Well, I feel like my loan was predatory. I got a theater degree. Hello, that wasn't predatory. Well, because I studied theater, I got a BFA, and then I have never. You have to work either in like nonprofit or you have to work in like teaching,
Yes.
that kind of thing. So I've never done. I did teach preschool, but that was I didn't even count. Really,
Right.
I don't think so. But I had about 30 grand, I think. And I paid it like, I remember I was able to just pay it down just because I've just been like living like a broke person. But I do remember like when I first started paying it being like,
Yeah.
like I deferred it a couple times. I was like, it's still coming back. Yeah. It's not going away.
I mean, when I meet kids that are going, like we have one in our family is going to this college, and I'm like, for a degree that's not going to give her a big return back. We're talking about $240,000
Wow.
in student loan debt
Wow.
because
That's
of housing, out
yeah.
of state,
Yep.
and just New York school or whatever. That I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like somebody needs to intervene.
Somebody needs to talk to them. Yeah,
Right.
because a lot of people, like when I did not talk to my parents about like the debt that I was going to be incurring. Like I didn't even really know.
I don't think it dawns on you because I think even when you're thinking like $30,000, like $8,000, that's laughable as a debt to somebody that's dealing with like medical school. Or any kind of four-year
these
degree.
people that are like lawyers now, and then you're like, why do you have a roommate? You're a lawyer guy that I dated, and and then he's like, yeah, I have no money because I was in law school.
Yeah, there was one law school that got sued because all the students were like, we didn't get any jobs from this.
That was a predatory law school.
Which I was like, that's actually pretty amazing. But that's why this is a whole other thing, not really a lady journey, but I'm like, I'm going to be interested to see how universities are in the next 20 years because I actually feel like it's a fucking scam. Nobody ever checks your degree. And also a lot of students, I'm like, I don't know. Just because you have a degree does not make one a hard worker.
Right. And the reason that they're so expensive is because a lot of these universities are like quote unquote nonprofit too. So it's like they're making money, but then they're just like building like additions on the school.
Right. There was one we went to go visit with our niece that out in Long Island, and they were bragging about how last year or a few years ago they got Kevin Hart, and their tuition was so high that I was like, how about I'd rather go to a school and not have Kevin Hart perform there because I don't give a shit and pay like a livable amount for schooling.
Yeah, Kevin Hart is not going to help me find employment. He's not going to remember me.
Nor does his God bless him, he's great. But
Bless his heart.
No, you can't. No matter how funny you are, you're not going to alleviate the stress of a student loan debt.
Yeah.
There's no humor that can get passed through that.
No, absolutely not.
But that's insane.
That's insane. But
it's so hard to live with even $30,000 in debt. That's a mortgage. It's like 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, you don't even have a house. You might as well take that money, get a house.
Get that house.
Yeah.
That's our journey. That's our advice to you.
But even
Well,
that, I don't even think that's a good investment
When
anymore.
I paid it off, I did feel a huge relief, but I do wish that instead of it was my main focus was paying off my loans. I wish I had been investing also and split the difference, but I just didn't know enough about money at the time.
Yeah, because you're always just told, just get rid of that debt.
And I'm glad that I did. I am debt free, which is such a relief, and I'll never go into debt again unless I'm a homeowner or something like good debt. But that's what she's talking about in the book, Vivian, too, is rich people are oh, this is good debt.
Oh yeah, Trump's in debt. Or bankruptcy.
Yeah.
You can just when you're rich, you can just go bankrupt.
Just go bankrupt. You're fine. Keep all of cash out.
Right.
And then live off the grid.
An LLC, so it's not personally hitting you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me tell you which credit card I'm thinking of getting, and then we can wrap up here because I'm getting married, as everyone knows.
She did it.
I did it. But because I hope no one stalks my wedding. I've heard of people someone I know who has a very famous podcast. People were finding his wedding website and he didn't put a password on it, and he had to hire security for his wedding.
That's insane.
Isn't that wild? So don't find my wedding.
I think we kept our photos private. Yeah.
I'll be making it private. But anyway, so because my wedding is at a Marriott at an undisclosed location, I'm going to pay for the whole thing with a credit card.
Okay.
So I can either now I have an Amex and I don't have another credit card. So I want to get another personal anyway, preferably Visa or MasterCard, because then I can use it abroad. You can't use Amex everywhere. I have Chase Bank. So there's the Chase Sapphire card, which is flexible and $100 a year. There's another Amex, which is $650 a year, but it's luxurious, tons of perks, tons of points. It's a Marriott Amex, so you'll get huge boost for everything.
I think about that hotel perks.
Yeah. I'm because the whole point of if I can pay for the honeymoon with a card with the points that we get, that's huge.
Right.
Then it's oh, of course I'm having it at there and not a garden or wherever. And then the third option is just the Marriott Bonvoy Visa, which is middle of the line. The fee's $95. It's not as much points. It's not as great, but you'll still get a lot from it.
Right.
So I think I'm gonna go with that one.
Okay.
That's the one I'm thinking.
What's the credit? What's your budget? Can I ask?
My budget for my wedding is, because we still haven't made a guest list, we have two kind of concepts where one is $20,000 and one is $30,000.
Okay.
So I think we're going to try to, maybe split the difference, maybe 25.
Right.
Maybe 25. And then, we'll see.
Yes. That's a good amount.
I think it's going to be pretty good because we are having did I tell you we're having the wedding on a Sunday? So we're saving 10%.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah. But as my therapist said, are you saving or are you spending more money? Because I'm they sent us this list of perks. And I'm all you have to do is spend 20 grand and then we get this, and this free.
Right.
But it's oh, you're not getting stuff for free. You're just spending more money.
And then you wonder if you're hopefully vendors are open on Sundays.
Yeah, well, most of the stuff will be supplied by the hotel, which is because a lot of people, a credit card is not the best for their wedding because a lot of vendors only take cash. So that's what I was reading on Reddit.
Deposits and stuff like that.
You have to just Venmo. It's and if it's a DJ or something, it's this guy's not set up for credit card. Yes. This is a man that I found on the side of the road. Right. Okay. But yeah, so that's my credit card journey. But yeah, I think the wedding budget for me does feel high. It feels like an insane amount. But
mine was $10,000.
Yeah.
And maybe $10,000 plus $3,000 because I think the DJ went outside of our budget.
Okay.
We got a good deal.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying if you do it, the wedding and the reception in the same place.
Yes, that's what we're doing.
That helps cut. It's almost like shooting a film. You keep the locations to a minimum.
What I feel like.
Then you don't have to wrangle in feral guests.
Yeah.
Where they're how do I get there? And you're it's 5 steps away from your front door.
Yeah, they're drunk.
Yeah.
We did have it. We looked at another venue that was slightly cheaper, but the hotel was far away. I was we'd have to get a party bus and just have it going back and forth because it's there's older people.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be sorry, Mimi. Yeah. You're on your own, bitch. You're not feeling well. You need to go back, get an Uber, learn your iPhone.
Oh God.
I know.
Out to do tech where you're like, it's a square code or whatever.
Yeah. It's
I got
a QR.
I got my dad Movie Pass one year, and it was a big fucking waste of money because I was like, you have to go into your phone first, and he was like, I do what? You know, like I was like, okay, this is
Never mind.
Yeah.
But anyway, I love talking about money, and because I'm very inspired by like Reddit, some of the Reddit wedding threads that I've been looking on. Like even for example, it feels kind of like, you know, a little embarrassing to say my wedding budget because I'm like, that's a huge amount of money and it seems crazy.
I think that's actually on par. Mine was on the lower end, but I have no qualms telling people 10,000.
Yeah.
Because I was actually really happy with what I got. But what we did, there are some things that I probably would do differently, but there's a lot of things like we just cut out because I just felt like they were arbitrary and stupid.
That's what I think I want to do with stuff too.
Yeah.
I want to just look and be like, I mean, flowers, like my flower budget is going to be $100.
Right. We didn't do we just did fake flowers on a charger.
Yeah.
And yeah, probably, but nobody notices and nobody cared. And I was just happy with the food. All I cared about was food, like good venue and orders and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then an open bar because that's all guests care about.
That's my priority. Good food and drinks.
People
and dessert. I want to get
Have you ever
special
heard
desserts.
of a wedding that doesn't do an open bar?
Oh, people trash it, which is not fair, but also.
But if they're traveling to come, you got to feed and make sure they get
do an
wasted.
open bar.
Yeah.
You got to do an open bar. Anyway, that's been our money episode. Let us know which credit card you're signing up for.
Yeah, or if you guys know any other, like, something that you would highly suggest as a perk or like, especially for the wedding.
Yeah. Like tell me your money saving tips. Cause I have a vision
or who
of doing
has good
like
deals.
Yeah. I have a vision of doing like a full blog post after and being like, okay, I saved $17,000 or like whatever this on the venue by doing it Sunday. I saved this on the dress and just like being totally transparent with it because talking about money is not awkward and you could do it with your friends.
And it's like, why is it gatekeepery and why should you? It's like what we talked about when if you have a friend that shuns you for wearing off-brand Uggs.
Right. Yeah.
What?
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's like I went to Spa Castle with you and we were naked. Like, tell me what your credit card debt is. Tell me your credit score. I know your boobs.
Right. Like, who's going, oh my God, I can't believe you're spending that much money.
Yeah. And don't judge your friends. Don't judge your friends. Because there's no good or bad spending. I mean, it's like, obviously it's not ideal to go in credit card debt, but it's like, because I'm such like a cheapskate, like historically would be like, oh my God, I would never do that.
Yeah.
But then it's also like, that's not my life. Like some people are more comfortable carrying a balance and that's their business. It's not my business to judge.
Yeah. And I actually think they say a little bit of debt is good.
A little bit of debt is good. Keeps you honest.
Get you a good credit score. Get in for loaning if you can keep up on your debt.
Yeah.
It's good for loans.
Yeah, you do need credit score. That's important. Everybody, please subscribe to our podcast.
Yeah. And join our Patreon. And it's really fun over there.
Oh my God. The Patreon.
We had a really spicy one yesterday with name drops.
We are just talking shit. We are just bashing acquaintances. And, you know, we won't stop. Actually, I think the Patreon is more fun than the free episodes.
It's spicy, yeah.
Yeah, because they cost more. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
So you're cheap. But also come to our show January.
July 31st.
July 31st, Grove 34. Tickets are available now. We had an amazing show last time. We did 2 giveaways.
Every joke hit.
We had amazing comedians. The audience was people cried.
Right.
Because of appreciation.
And if there's a lady journal listener out there that was at the show that has solar panel AC unit, reach out.
And congratulations to our winner of our
floral
bag.
Our bag.
And the floral, which never contacted us.
Oh, well.
But that's okay.
That's on you.
Lady Journey.
Lady Journey.